So what we have here again is the fourth budget presentation. We've been working diligently for many months to get here. Last budget session, last time we met, there were some additional parameters that the board had set. And that information has been given to you prior, so prepare you as best as possible. But just to recap a handful of things, the budget development process, again, since November to April. Rob has up the budget meeting dates, the numerous times that we've met, the feedback that we have. Today is Tuesday, April 19th. We will need to adopt a budget this evening. There's a public hearing on May 9th. And then Tuesday, May 17th is the budget vote and board election. We have 2 open seats, and we have 3 candidates looking to fill those 2 seats. So we encourage everybody to come out and vote their conscience. The agenda for this evening, budget assumptions, the tax levy cap, gap elimination, a lot of the things that have been there in the past. Most importantly, draft budget 4, level 1, again, taking those parameters into consideration. And a level 2, should any less funds be spent at level 1, we would be looking to make those inclusions from level 2, plus propositions revenues. So I'll turn it over to Mr. McDow, walking through our current budget assumptions.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. Our current budget assumptions have changed slightly. In our previous presentation, our salary increase was $935,000, and that increase now is $910,000. You'll see the difference in our presentation later. We still assume 3 instructional retirements, 5 student-related professional retirements, healthcare increase of 6% or $390,000. Our debt service of $1.8 million increase. ERS and TRS decreases of $310,000 total. The calculation of the tax cap, nothing has changed here since February. The local tax cap maximum is 3.4%, or an increase of $1,065,000 and some change. Our local share obligation is the obligation that the district has to pay the portion of the debt service that is not covered by the state. In 2011, we voted upon a $58 million project. This year, the commencement of the local share begins, and then next year there will be another additional portion for the transportation facility. A history of the gap elimination adjustment, and this will be the last time you see this, because it has been eliminated. The total funds that were lost to the district or not allotted to the district amount to over $17,793,000. Our legislative state aid run. The most important thing to note here is the change in the gap elimination, the $1,227,000 amount. That's like line number 9. Most of the other increases are expense driven. So we spend and then we receive those monies next year. So these are monies that we spent in 14-15, the expense driven aid that is paid in the following year. So these would be numbers that they're projecting us to spend this year for 16-17. Our reserve activity, probably the most important slide for me and I think for our district. We want to make sure that we are in a place where we can financially afford to pay for certain things. So this is something that we'll always be protective of, and we'll always want to make sure we identify an outline for our district. Back in June 2011, we had over $23 million in our fund balances. Now we currently have $13.8 million. And they say that the suggested amount by the comptroller is somewhere between 18 and 22% of your overall budget. Our proposed budget next year is going to be somewhere close to $61 million. 20% of that is $12.2 million. We're very close to what the governor and the comptroller are recommending. So as we move forward further in our future, we'll be looking to make sure we keep those percentages somewhere close to the 20% threshold. Summary of our revenues from 2 weeks ago shows a property tax levy increase of 3.4%, or $1,065,267. Overall budget increase of 5.1%. draft budget number 4, which is today.
Thank you. The top items are there, those have not changed. Recall those come as a result of a bubble of students from 6th grade to 7th grade that we need to accommodate for their curricular program. Those teachers that we would hire would remain on staff over the next handful of years, traveling with them middle school on to high school. We have a special education teacher at Sidway, still with an asterisk. Recall that is contingent upon incoming students into kindergarten based on special education needs. The previous administration made a commitment to the community and also to the state that we would increase our technology teachers at the high school. This was the year that we said that would take place. That is there. We have library clerk. It is an individual such that Kagovine, Youth, and Sidway would have a full-time library clerk, allowing that resource to be tapped fully, students having opportunity, teachers having increased opportunity to utilize them. We did decrease the monies that we were allocating to the Human Resources Director. Again, I will stress that with an organization of shy of 600 employees, that not having a full-time administrator to oversee that department places tremendous challenges on overseeing employee discipline, employee relationships, negotiations, and things of that nature. That being said, we were keen to reduce that to meet board expectation. That has been reduced, and we will work with that as best as we can. The DECA program is continuing to grow feverishly. Music, technology, and business are becoming cornerstones of the district for which we're known. We had numerous students compete both nationally and locally at the state level as well, and so we're looking to increase the contribution to continue to grow that program. Buildings and grounds custodian, we did build a new transportation facility. It is imperative that we have an individual to be able to take care of that. The two items with arrows are the only ones that we see having some fluctuation with cost. We might not need a special education teacher, and certainly then that human resources director, whatever the board chooses then to do, moving forward with that. We do have a level 2. We have streamlined that completely. This would come as a result of any reduction from level 1, freeing up funds that would allow us then to have this person go into place. Remember Cheryl Cardone did yeoman's work to think through the recommendations meeting student needs that were originally given to us, to synthesize them into one psychologist to be able to then redirect and redistribute personnel where they would be to meet needs. You'll recall there were some other things on that tier 2 list previously, to include things like Rachel's Challenge, to include stipends for community education. We put in costs that would be the largest possible cost, say for example for Rachel's Challenge, knowing full well that we didn't have dollar commitments from PTAs or from any grants other than interest. Should any of these things come in lower, let's say for example we have 7 teachers out of nowhere decide to retire in November, out of nowhere, we would hire teachers at a lesser cost. So the dollar amount that we would have budgeted for individuals would not be completely and totally exhausted. So things like Rachel's Challenge, things like the middle school literacy person, we are then in a position to say, not spending more than the board approved, but certainly we want to use those funds sensibly to maximize program. So we might see that Rachel's Challenge is completely taken care of for some of those second tier things. Most specifically, if the special education teacher at Sidway does not come to fruition, we would then be looking to automatically post and bring this person in there.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. On to our bus proposition. We are proposing a $646,000 proposition for 6 buses and 2 Ford F-250s. Pretty similar to what we've had consistently in the last few years. Summary of our revenues for draft number 4. You'll see that the change in the human resources cost, and that is reflected in your real property tax levy line. Back on April 4th, that percentage was 3.4%. Now that number is 3.24%. And this would be our recommendation for the budget for the 16-17 school year. We have not changed any allocations from our reserves, and we already knew our revenue, other revenue sources from the governor when we proposed our draft 3 budget on April 4th. Summary of our expenditures. This is a state requirement that we do it in a 3-part, that we show it in 3 parts, our administrative program and capital components. Biggest change here are salary increases, benefit increases, and debt service. Our recap for budget number 4, which is debt.
Can you talk a little bit about that, because you said you were gonna explain, where it went up to 910,000. Is this the slide where you,
This is not the slide, but I can explain it for you.
okay, please, if you don't mind.
Not a problem. Back on March 14th, I think that was the date, we showed a salary increase line of 300 or 700, and I want to say $35,000 or so. When you then take all of the middle school additions, you then, which is part of your tier 1 or level 1 components, and we can go back to those. When you take all of these additions, that's where we get to your $910,000. So you take the 4 middle school additions, the Sidway special ed teacher, and your library clerk, and your tech teacher, that's where that increase comes from. So of that $399,000, most of it goes to your salary line, and that's the change in that cost.
Thank you. No, you have to turn on my microphone. Oh, I'm sorry.
So to recap, this presentation for budget number 4, real property tax increase of $1,115,767 or 3.24%. Our basic budget of $60,977,971. That's 10 times in a row. And then you can also see our total budget. That's the same dollar value of $60,977,971. And you can see how our budget is broken down, very similar to what we've had in previous years. About 8% for admin, around 73 to 75% for program, and then you can see the increase in capital of 18.34% compared to 16%, which is the local share increase of our debt for the coming year. What would our taxes look like for an individual or a family who owns a $180,000 home? You would have an increase of 3.24% or approximately $92.58. This number and these figures are very conservative. We have not increased or changed anything from our assessed values from the 15-16 year. Now, I truly expect that that will not be the case. They will increase, but to try to forecast that will put us in a place where if I am too aggressive, then we post a number that is over what individuals or under what individuals would actually receive. And we like to try to under-promise and over-deliver, so we don't have to worry about that. So if you have a $180,000 home, if we have a tax rate of $19.66 per thousand, your estimated cost would be around $2,949. To recap today, increase in state aid and governor's budget, $757,123. Gap restoration of $1,227,000. Tax cap maximum of 3.4%, or a little over $1,065,000. Our proposed increase is $1,015,767, or 3.24%. Recommendations are $424,000. That's if we take level 2. If we don't, it will be $399,000. Use of reserves, $4,449,000, which is exactly what we pledged for this year. Our proposed budget, $60,977,000. Our proposed increase is 3.24%. I'm sorry, our proposed increase for budget is 4.93%, and the impact on a $180,000 household in Grand Island would be $92.58 increase overall.
So workshops again are there. I'm just, if we can recall, when is candidates night? Janet, did that get decided?
Thursday, May 12th.
Thursday, May 12th, so we can add that as part of that budget development process. Thursday, May 12th would be candidates night. And then there is also the All-Island PTA, where the PTAs come together, have their meetings, and then another budget presentation. Mr. McDow and I, and board members, will be there, and that is April 25th. So we can add those 2 dates to the overall structure there again. So we're certainly keen to entertain any questions.
Just approximately, what do you think the time would be for the presentation for the 25th?
It's probably about an hour. We've been available for an hour. We stay there as long as people have questions.
I think,
The actual presentation of the budget, isn't that usually just about 15, 20 minutes? It's just that portion.
Was that your question?
well, actually, my question was, what time do you think that will be happening? I think sometimes people plan to come in, they entertain the different things, and in the
I know
past.
the starting meetings are 6:30,
Okay.
and usually finish up 8 or 8:30.
Okay, so around
And
8
then
or
budget
8:30 then,
presentation.
for people to plan on the budget presentation, which, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Rob, in the materials that we've been provided, the last 2 slides, after the questions, comments, they have a 2.99 number. Can you explain what that is and what's that supposed to do?
This was because of your suggestion 2 weeks ago. We wanted to see what the impact of our budget would look like if we had a tax levy increase less than 3%. So what we decided was that the program, we didn't want to impact the program at all from the outside of touching the HR position. We felt we had allocated more to the HR position than we possibly thought we would need for next year, but we did not want to touch anything else. So to get to the 2.99% tax rate increase, we actually increased our reserve allotment from the debt service from $780,000 to $860,000.
Perfect, thanks.
Questions, comments? I can use exercise.
Just so that I'm clear, so the tax cap is allowable up to 3.4.
Yes, it is.
The recommended budget that's proposed here tonight is at 3.24.
Yes, it is.
So,
Of the tax levy increase.
correct.
And I would like to have us proceed the 2.99 tax levy increase. And allocate the $80,000 more from reserves in order to reach that level.
Rob, I know we budgeted for the use of reserves at 4.5, which is close to, which mimics what we did last year, but what did we actually,
Last year, we spent, of that allocation, $1.2 million approximately.
thank you.
Could you say that, what was,
Well, we allocated, again, in our proposal this year, of use of reserves of 4.449. And that, we said matched our number from last year, but our actual use was only 1.2. So we didn't actually use the whole, and I just thought. Correct, it doesn't come out of reserves. Is that correct statement?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
If we don't use the proposed budgeted amount of reserves, it just stays in reserves, correct?
It does.
Okay, thanks.
So in that case, if we took money out of reserves to lower to the 299 and we don't utilize what we are proposing, then
It stays in the reserve.
it stays in the reserves and,
It definitely does. My only caveat would be that in a year where we had capital elimination eliminated, and we are looking to pay, start paying debt, I wouldn't advise to increase our use of our reserves, but things we just have to work hard to make sure we don't spend.
Any other questions, thoughts?
What was the difference in the dollar amount to like 80,000?
80,000 out of
Bu-
reserves, and I
Budget, budget
think,
would remain the same. The allocation of reserve
Just
funds would
80,000
change.
more out of
and I think the change you're reflecting for what you're showing on the proposed tax rate for the 299, and then your recommendation, tax rate from 57 cents to 62 cents, and then the tax bill would be from $85.29. I think you said about less than $492.58. So it would be about a $4
Get $4
difference for the taxpayers.
We have maximum of $4. We actually expect it to be lower.
You expect it to be most maximum. What else can we help answer?
I'll see what that was, please. Make a motion to approve the budget for $60,977,971. And that we allocate the dollars so we get 2.99% tax levy increase.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we
Opposed?
don't have a roll call for that?
Opposed?